Welcome to the Philantrepreneur Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd, designed to offer tips, strategies, and insights to empower nonprofits and entrepreneurs with sustainable win-win solutions. The Philantrepreneur Show is sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, building capacity through education and professional services.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Philantrepreneur Show. This is Dr. Victoria Boyd, president of the Galaxy Group and editor of the Philantrepreneur Journal, and my dynamic co-host, Heidi Anderson, founder of Credit Cares and president of Electronic Commerce International. We are thrilled to bring you the Philantrepreneur Show, which airs every first and third Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Boy, this year is really flying, and I'm sure some of our East Coast and Midwest listeners, I'm sure you'll be happy when spring gets around here, and I know it's right around the corner. With spring comes the budding of all the seeds we entrepreneurs or philantrepreneurs have been planting all winter. And I know both Heidi and I have been doing a lot of things, so I have a lot of exciting projects on the horizon. So, Heidi, you've been really submerged. What's up in your world?
Oh, yes. Good morning, Victoria. Yes, I have been submerged. Excuse me. Business is just crazy. Excuse me. And I am working diligently on putting the final touches on the paperwork necessary to submit my foundation to foster empowerment to the IRS for our 501c3 status. We got our corporate status in just a couple of weeks ago, and it's quite a process, and I'm very new to it. I know you have a lot more experience with it than I do, but this is one of the many reasons I asked Dr. Rich Schuttler to be on the show and to be on my board. Dr. Rich, he knows how to better build strong foundations for nonprofits and for-profit organizations. So I'm really going to need his help.
We're in the same field. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm glad to have both of you in my life right now. So Dr. Rich Schuttler is an organizational troubleshooter. He helps people and organizations to achieve their full potential through simple-to-understand approaches that are easy to apply. Much of his work is directed at the sequencing of new startups for for-profit and nonprofit organizations. So welcome to the show, Dr. Rich.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, tell us a bit about yourself and what does an organizational troubleshooter do?
Well, I'd be happy to. Well, I did 23 years active duty in the Navy, and after I got out of the Navy, when I retired, I was teaching part-time, which I still do, and after a number of years of teaching, I went to work at the University of Phoenix full-time for 5 years as a dean, overseeing several different leadership and business programs. To date, I am an organizational troubleshooter, and what that means is that I go into businesses or help them start up and really look at troubleshooting any problems they have, give them ideas on how to correct those problems, but really helping them to be more efficient, effective in their operation.
Well, we have very similar paths. Can I call you Rich?
You please do.
Yes, because I've taught at University of Phoenix. My background is nonprofit organization. I teach at UNLV nonprofit management right now. So
right.
and we have a lot in common. So because we know the nonprofit world, just let our listener know what empowers nonprofits and small businesses to work together to create sustainable win-win-win relationships.
Well, I think for the ones that do it well, they've come to realize that going after something on their own is not as easy as working together with others and collaboration and cooperation. So many times when people are starting out their nonprofits in particular, they have a grand vision and they really want to help people. They want to serve it in a big way. And if they articulate that vision well, then others just want to become a part of their vision. They want to help them out. And I believe that's what really gets people working together is having the ability to communicate effectively what somebody's trying to do and then let the right people come on board and help.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely the truth. Well, do you have any tips for us and our audience for the most important steps to take when you're starting a new nonprofit or really kind of any organization?
That's a great question, Heidi, and I think more people should think about what they should do or could do early on in the process. And like yourself, you're putting together a board of advisors, and I'm a big advocate for being on boards and helping people early on and promoting that when people want to start their nonprofit, but even a for-profit business, is to get a group of advisors. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people, maybe 3 people who are perhaps not family members, who can help guide and just be a sounding board for that business owner or that nonprofit person who's thinking about starting up their business based on their vision, so that they can get different points of view from other people and not go it alone. The ones that fail or don't do as well as they could otherwise are those who try to do it all on their own. And reality is there's enough people around willing to help.
Absolutely. A couple of points I want to bring to light to our listeners, because you said your business, and a lot of the things that I am really pushing for, especially nonprofits when they're starting, is to really get into the mindset that they are a business, that they need to structure their infrastructure to have systems and operations for business effectiveness. And you mentioned being effective and efficient earlier. It's really important for them to understand that vision is important to attract people, but what keeps them there is that they have sound operating systems and have thought about how to be most effective to serve their mission. I'm so glad you brought that up. So in looking at what approaches that need to be taken, and especially from the Philantrepreneur viewpoint, which is really combining the small business or entrepreneurial mindset with being a philanthropist, can you give us an example of a simple-to-understand approach that is easy to apply to the model that we're talking about?
Sure. And, one of the things I like to do, and I promote it everywhere, and particularly in nonprofits, is to look at, when they create their vision and have a mission statement, they start to look at their strategies to realize that success doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in the short term, but by applying what I call incremental gains. That means making small steps of progress over periods of time that collectively add up to be huge successes. That's really what people, I believe, need to have focus on early, saying, I can do something today, I can do something tomorrow, the next week we can achieve a goal, maybe achieve an objective, that over time that's going to add up. And staying that steady course, as people might say, is really what gets the race done. It's what allows one to be successful, whether it be quarter after quarter or year after year.
Absolutely. And I'm throwing in a new question here. How important do you feel they're creating their strategic plan early in the process? How important is that to the organization, finding those incremental steps?
It's only important if they want to be successful. It really is.
I'm glad you would.
A novel concept.
It is. And a lot of people don't take it to heart early on. And as you mentioned, which is a great point, early on you have to start out a nonprofit the same exact way as you would any for-profit business, because you have to first have that vision of what somebody has in their heart or in their minds, what they want to accomplish. Then the mission is how they're going to accomplish it. But then the most important thing thereafter is to create that strategic plan for short and long-term goals, because if you don't have goals set in place, it's hard to put together what I call those incremental gains, because you have to have a target to move forward. And so Absolutely. It's critical to have those strategic plans, and they don't have to be something fancy, but they have to be something to start with.
Well, it's one of the things I've heard you speak about when I've heard you talk before is about measurability and being able to actually, and if you don't have goals or you don't have anything in place, then how do you measure it?
Exactly. And you don't have to do this fancy, big, elaborate strategy. It could be that just in the first year you need to have so much earned revenue coming in or donations coming in. So you have a goal, because once you set the goal, it's like running a marathon. If you want to run a marathon and your goal is to run 26.2 miles, well, you have to do some running ahead of time. You have to maybe run a 5K and a 10K. You have to have the right running shoes. You have to eat the right food. And by doing things in small increments, you build up over time to run that marathon. You don't just run it tomorrow.
Absolutely. And with many visionaries, as I call them, those founders of nonprofits, they come with that passion, and they really want to have an impact immediately. And your message is really resonating because they need to also celebrate those small incremental steps, those benchmarks that you say, mapping it out, so that they feel as if they're consistently making progress and they don't get discouraged.
That's a perfect point, because, particularly when you're working with other people, then when they come in, involve themselves with that visionary, is they want that pat on the back that says, thank you for a good job. And it doesn't have to be big accomplishments. Those little goals that are achieved along the way are a great time to celebrate and look at how much progress has been accumulated. And that's one of the best things about incremental gains, because every time you see a gain, you have that opportunity to reflect and say, wow, we're making progress. Let's maybe actually literally celebrate. Let's take everybody to lunch and have a good time.
Absolutely. These are so important in terms of strategies and just tips that we're talking to our listeners that are thinking about nonprofits, and even the business owners that are merging some of their community impact messaging into how they're structuring their business. The same principles of incremental steps applies. I'm going to take a minute now, because we are talking about strategies and tips, and do our Philantrepreneur tip of the day. We love providing tips and strategies, so that we created this segment, and our tip today is, what's your story? It really ties into what we're talking about, that vision. Whether you're a nonprofit, small business, solopreneur, or any variation across the spectrum, in order to really connect, you must tell your story. Whether a personal vision or a company goals, tell your story. It adds a dimension and an opportunity for others to engage, which is key to building relationships that lead to clients or your followers. What is your story? Is it your why? What drives you? We'll have more on this topic in future broadcasts, but start thinking about, what is your story? Okay, we also take time for a commercial break. We're going to go into that right now, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
Hey, are you a small business owner like me who wants to make a charitable contribution and needs easy access to charitable giving sources that you can automate for your business for free? Then I invite you to visit www.credit-cares.com. They have charitable giving options using their innovative merchant platform that helps nonprofits raise money and helps merchants make contributions at no additional cost to them using the products and services of Electronic Commerce International. Our giving options are easy to set up for small business. So if you have a business entity, we can donate in your business name. Go to www.credit-cares.com and see how you can make a difference every day by doing what you already do. Go to www.credit-cares.com and fill out the form, or call 855-782-2737 for more information on how your business can be a difference maker in your community.
The Philantrepreneur is dedicated to your success. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com and explore a wide range of services and resources. Register and join our community. Find benefits such as training, mentorship, and especially the interactive community. Receive the Philantrepreneur Journal, a nationally distributed bi-monthly digital publication serving everything Philantrepreneur. Do you want marketing exposure in the entrepreneur and nonprofit sectors and have community impact? Ads for a Cause, where 10% of your marketing funds go directly to charity. Contact us today to place your ad, the best value around. In digital format, it's a great marketing tool to send, post, or share, exponentially increasing your reach in a professional publication. Plus, audio and or video formats are available. Deadlines are on a rolling basis, so don't miss being included in the next publication. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com and click the Journal Marketing Ads tab today.
Well, welcome back. We are here with our guest, Dr. Rich Schuttler. And before the break, we were talking about the concept of small steps and incremental gains. Is there anything else you'd like to add about that?
Well, I think it's important. It ties back to that topic we talked about briefly about putting people together on a board advisory. When you have an advisory board and you're working towards these incremental gains, is to make sure that you're making incremental gains in more than one area. For example, you might want to have somebody who's really knowledgeable in business operation on that board of advisors, because many times it's that entrepreneur, it's that person who starts the nonprofit even, who has that vision, and they have a great heart. They want to serve many people, but they may not always be the best business-minded people. So the other point I would like to just add to that is to surround yourself with those people who can really complement the attributes that one does have, but also that one does not have as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely, because I know that, as I said, that's one of the reasons that I really was excited that you agreed to be on the board for the Foundation to Foster Empowerment, because I am a businesswoman and I do know how to run a business, but there's just there's so much more that I don't know, and I'm so open to learning, and I'm very excited to have you there to as one of the people to, as you said, do the things that I'm not so good at.
Plus, even if you're good at it, it just gives you an extra opinion or someone to help you do the work. You know, Rich mentioned earlier about don't try to be on that island by yourself. Don't try to do it alone. It will take a team, that group, those partnerships that will make you be very successful. So, all of the small tips and the incremental steps and putting together advisory board this is valuable information.
And,
so
what goes with that is, I just wanted to say what goes with that is,
absolutely.
What I have found also is you don't have to, what we call, recreate the wheel. There's been so many people out there who have done so many good things, and that's one of the things that I prescribe in all the work that I do is, we find what other people have done well, and we implement those same steps. And it's those steps that everybody has done who has been successful, creating that vision statement, that mission statement, the strategic plan, and looking at those goals and how they can create success steps along the way.
Absolutely.
Well, go ahead, Victoria.
Well, I was just saying, recreating, everyone thinks just because they have this vision that it's really never a new vision. It might have their own particular twist on it, but one of the things I really promote is go out and do the research. Who else is out there doing almost the same thing? Find out where there might be some gaps where you can make that your unique niche in terms of what you're doing. But there's always a model that you can follow. And it's important to see, first of all, what models are working well, and then also look at those that might not have done so well and try to utilize some of the mistakes or missteps that might have happened there so that you don't repeat those missteps. And it just makes you stronger from the beginning. It's exciting. Getting into more, we talked about, go ahead, Heidi.
No, I was just
We're
say,
excited, aren't we?
What do you feel is a good way to find out that information, to really, to find other, people with visions similar and what they tried to do and what worked and what didn't?
Well, one of the things I suggest is if you have seen another nonprofit that started successfully, go talk with that person. Most successful people want to share their story. I love what you talk about in creating your story. The successful people that have their stories, and they want to share it. They want to help other people. And so go to those people who have been successful and ask them, what did they learn along the way? What should they consider in their own efforts to avoid the pitfalls that somebody else has gone through, but also just to get that information from somebody else on what they did to be successful.
Yes, you'd be surprised how often they'll share some of their tools and things with you so that you don't even have to go search for them.
Sure.
General, and you will find that many nonprofits, the visionaries or the leaders, they're giving people from their heart anyway, and so they want to, and they don't view it as competition, especially if you're filling a gap that they might need. Even nonprofits like to build partnerships and collaborations to support one another. Looking at, in terms of trying to identify some strategies that didn't work, then you might just look at those that are always putting out the message, if we don't get your money, we're going to close our door, because definitely that's the wrong message. Your message always needs to be positive, the impact that you're having, your success stories. I'm very big into stories and talking about what gains you've made and who you have impacted, your success stories. And so those organizations that continually talk success versus those stories that are giving the, oh, woe is me, if you don't help us now, we can't do things. Right there is an indication of the difference between whether or not a organization is going to be sustainable or whether or not it might close its doors within the next few years. So I'm getting back to questions for Rich. You mentioned identifying people and looking at how they can serve you. I want to get back on the importance of identifying the correct people to serve on your members or for your board of advisors. Can you touch some more about and go a little bit more into detail of additional people?
The other people to consider is somebody who has what I believe the ability to put processes together and be able to understand how to do something from point A to point B. Somebody who has that linear mindset. Somebody who can work with the visionary person to take that vision and really bring it to life and ask some of the tougher questions. For example, I'm working with one nonprofit right now that I've just joined as a board director, and they're looking at contracts. Well, somebody needs to be able to look and say, okay, when these contracts are renewable, how soon should you start revising them? Should you relook at them? How much time frame should you have when you have problems if you want to talk with them? You need somebody who's really able to see the future coming before it gets there.
Absolutely, those global thinkers. I call them the big picture thinkers that really know how to get from point A to point B. One of the things I often talk, because my background is in choreography, I taught dance for 28 years. It's the whole process of how do you get all of these moving bodies so they don't kill each other, and I can on stage and run into each other and can coordinate all. And I think that's a tool that, by me being a choreographer, I am very, very process driven. I look at the point, I map it out and then take it to the next step. That's a excellent point to make in terms of just putting things together. The visionaries usually have that big picture that they're coming from that heart place, and so that's a great person to have in their as I call it, circle of influence that can help them.
As well as somebody who has a good financial background, and because that's important as well too, because you have to be able to manage money both coming in and going out.
Absolutely. And there's some nuances and some specific things that nonprofit budgets must have that are not in a normal small business budget. Absolutely.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm really, really happy to get the two of you talking on this the show. Because you both know a lot about this topic and have a lot to share. So it always makes the show so much more exciting and interesting. And Rich, you really brought some powerful information today. I'm sure our listeners would like to know how to find you. Would you mind sharing your contact information?
Oh, that's kind of you. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions. If anybody wants to email me, they're welcome to do that through my website, which is www.drrich, then my last name, Schuttler, which is SCHUTTLER, and it's .com, so drrichschuttler.com.
Yeah, and if anyone needs to find his spelling, just listen to the radio show or go to any of our websites on our events calendar. We have his name, and the contact information will be up. We have had some really dynamic guests on our show, and wouldn't you like to be included? Do you have a concept, strategy, or project that exemplifies the Philantrepreneur model? Drop us a note at philantrepreneur.com or via any of our company websites, Credit Cares, and that's credit with a dash cares.com, or drvictoriaboyd.com. And the 2014 schedule is filling fast, so reach out today so that you can be considered for a guest on our show.
And speaking of it filling it fast, mark your calendar and join us Wednesday, March 5th, as we welcome Ralph Schuttler. He's the board chair of the Cultural Corridor Theater Center. It's a major $45 million cultural partnership developing in Las Vegas, Nevada. He'll share some of the strategies they're using to build strong community partnerships. It's been another great show.
Another great show. Once again, we want to thank our guest today, Rich Schuttler, for being on. If you want to listen to the rebroadcast, just go to blogtalkradio.com/philantrepreneur. And this is Victoria Boyd and Heidi Anderson saying thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Philantrepreneur Radio Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd. Get involved. Follow us on Facebook and other social media outlets. If you wish to share comments or suggestions or appear as a guest on our show, visit www.thephilantrepreneur.com. Contact Victoria Boyd. Email her at theboyd@thephilantrepreneur.com. The Philantrepreneur Radio Show is a production of and sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.